pedal people that want the Marshall sound because you like the Marshall sound, or you might have Marshalls, but you want that Marshall sound with a different amp, or you might... there's reasons to buy this if you're into Marshall. Now, at NAMM 2025, which is this year, I think, yeah, what do I know in these weird times, Marshall released the modded 1959, it's a Plexi with some switches, and the modded JCM 800, which is a JCM with some switches, and also the JCM 900 Studio in 20 watts, which is pretty damn good. But they also released 5 pedals. And it took a lot of pestering and emails and calling them and saying, what up, and come on, and please, and could I maybe review these, for them to send them, but now they're here. It's only August. They don't work fast, but they do good stuff. So these pedals, when I saw them last year, actually last summer when I went to Marshall, they were presented to me and I was like, they look good. Okay. Do we really need a battery compartment? I don't know. But when they told me the price, I was like, I think that's too cheap because they are hefty. They are well built. They look nice. Rubbery knobs. Everything about them is solid. Haven't heard them at that point in time. So now they're here, and we'll start with taking the DSL, which this video is about, out of the box.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now there are 5 of them, the DSL, the 800, the Plexi, which is a 1959, the JVM, and the JCM 900. How different are they? Do you need all of them? I can tell you when I'm done with these videos, but we'll start with the DSL. And here are some product shots and some sounds to wet your whistle. So even though I don't necessarily think any of them actually are brilliant for leads, that's what we're testing when we're playing a little Noodle Track from Elevator Jam Tracks, and we'll, dial it in. And here's a Noodle Track with me playing badly. Okay, now that we got all that out of the way, let's look at the pedal. And I did say I don't think they're necessarily for leads because they have that Marshall upper mid quality, which is very bitey. I mean, they are brilliant for the rhythm. When you want to play leads, they're more like the screamy, scratchy kind. If you want it to be creamy and singy, you'll just need to boost it with like a Tube Screamer or something like that, King of Tone, any of those. If you have a pedal that does that and you're using this on a pedal board, you actually likely are using that into your amp instead of a pedal into this. So this would be your Marshall sound. That's what you use it for. We got gain, we know what that does. And these knobs, as I already said, they are very grabby because they have a rubber sleeve around them. Do we have a camera that can show that? Got 9 cameras in the room. We have to have a rubber ring sleeve camera. There you go. It's actually very nice. They definitely didn't save any money on any of this. I'm just going to talk about the ins and outs. Yeah, thank you. In and out and 9 volt in the back. There's a battery compartment, as you could see in the unboxing at the bottom. This is a white ring. They all kind of look the same. The grills on them are slightly different, I think, depending on, the era or whatever. And they all have 4 knobs. So they use the same platform and they had to make do with the 4 knobs. Gain, deep or depth actually is probably power amp simulation low end. Tone will get you more or less treble, I assume, and then volume. So pretty straightforward. We're going into 3 different amps. We're starting with the Tone King Imperial, which clean sounds like so. And this is my Sully 71 Trella that I put DR strings on them because they are pink and it's just cool. It's a fantastic guitar and those strings are vibrating into my eyes. Vibrating? What if the word is into my eyes? If you want to round it off, you can do that. And of course, we're going into the Oxford 4-12 Creamback loaded cab mic with a 57. And here we get bite. That's cool. Okay, some nice leads there. Nice, lean rhythm tone. Okay, it gets juicy and thick. It's actually nice that you have both options. Full disclosure, I've never played a DSL, the actual amp, so I cannot tell you really what that stands for other than that it's supposed to be, I think, versatile, and they do have quite a few options in 20 watts and whatever in a more affordable price bracket. It's not one of those classic, JMP, JTMs, whatever all the J's are. That's rather nice. That is rather nice. See, it gets thicker, juicier, and wider, muddier. But you can control the mud, obviously. If you want it really thick, those big, doomy chords. You can absolutely get it. But if you want more controlled tightness, also with a beautiful mid-honk. I dialed in the tone to get the top end, but that wasn't happening because apparently it was pushing the amp too hard and it wasn't doing what I expected it to do until I turned the volume down. Did you hear that? Let's go into other amps, but let's go back to E. I lied to you. That was not the Imperial. As you could see in the corner, because I fixed it in edit, that was all the Bad Cat, Black Cat, which is Voxish. That's a Vox style amp. Okay, well, combine the two Brits, that's what you're getting. And we're gonna now go into the Imperial. Sorry people, my bad, that's the Imperial. A little bit rounder and softer. And the same thing here, we can absolutely control the thickness and the muddiness, but it's a positive kind of thickitude, not muddy in a bad sense, because you can absolutely dial it out by turning deep down. We're gonna go into the Tube Workshop 2864, beautiful boutique amp made for this. Made for this. And there you have it. That's what's possible with the Marshall DSL pedal. Look, folks, this thing, I think as a rhythm machine, you can get some leads, but you have to, they're special ones. They're these woolly ones, if you want them, or very top-endy, bitey ones. But I think for rhythms, it delivers the Marshall tone. You can get this big, doomy sound, but also dial it out with the deep. So $139, even if it does like one kind of rhythm tone, I think is absolutely fair. It does what it says on the pedal. It's Marshall. How close it gets to what the DSL does, I don't know. So I'll put links below if you want it. If you don't want it, that's fine. I'm happy you stayed this long. And we'll put animals at the end as always.